All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Boxing Rush Hour Show, fightsatw.com. My guest, midweek, we're going hot and heavy. He's the CEO of MarvNation and the founder, Marvin Rodriguez. Marvin, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. Listen, before we get into everything that you got going on this week, I was looking on the website and I saw that it's been 10 years. Marv Nation has been around since 2014. Um, I'm just kind of curious and wanted to know what was your vision at the start of it all? And are you where you thought you would be when you did start it?
You know what? The vision for us is, to be able to help upcoming fighters that had no opportunity or that no one paid attention to or that didn't have the resources to be able to do something. Because boxing, man, it's a cutthroat industry, man. You know what I mean? It's really tough. Unless you're like an Olympian, unless you come back, you have a background in boxing with a lot of amateur fights, or you have some big money behind you, it's really tough, And the reason I got into this because I have two boys. Two of my sons are professional boxers. They're actually going to be fighting at the Pechanga September 6th on that card. That's the only reason why I got into boxing. That's where the vision was born. Like, look, my kids, uh, they wanted to pursue boxing, but they didn't have an extensive amateur career. They got in it kind of late. They wanted to box, and like a typical dad trying to protect his kids, I'm like, nope, no kid of mine is going to be boxing. No kid of mine is going to be as a violent sport. Blah blah blah. But the reality is this. Yeah, we've been around since 2014, but we did more concerts, more of the music industry. We did a lot of major concerts with big artists like Nicky Jam and so forth. You know, and then when my son decided to become a boxer, I was like, at first I didn't want to, but I made a deal with my older son. He wasn't going to graduate from high school because he fell behind on his grades. And I said, look, if you graduate from high school, I'll go ahead and help you pursue your boxing career, which is what you want to do, and I'll become like your manager. Never did I ever imagine I was going to become his promoter. But that's how it started. We started doing shows. We started getting involved in the boxing industry, and then I started realizing how difficult it was. And the reason I started doing shows because I told him I was going to be his manager because I knew people in other big promotion companies, and I said all I got to do is pick up the phone and make some calls, and my son will be fighting on ESPN, on the DAZN, or these top networks, you know. And then I realized it's not that easy. They would tell me, well, take him to TJ, have him go fight in Mexico, put on some fights out there, and then come back, and then we'll see who we can put him against. And I was like, why would they go out there if the majority of their fan base is here? And it's true, the first fight that my son had, we had about 900 people that showed up, like a lot of people that went to support, So um, it's it's something that was born out of basically a dad trying to support his kids. And then I see that there's thousands of fighters out there with the same story. And you know what? You said, did I imagine it would be what it is now? I wouldn't. I didn't really, because we've accomplished so much in such little time. In reality, we really got into boxing in 2020 during the pandemic. That's when we got into boxing, and we've been able to make a few female world champions. We're working on making a champion now, and we're working on multiple champions up and coming, prospects.
All right. And then in that whole process of, let's say, from 2020 to 2024, what are like some of those hard learning lessons you experienced during that time while
Yeah,
promoting shows?
you know what? I would say just a tough industry, man, because I don't know why it's so difficult for people to work together. It's difficult, man. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing. And obviously, everybody has a different thought, but I do see like there's too much egos in the whole process. You know, there's too many people just looking out for themselves instead of trying to work together. You know, and that's the hardest thing, I think, just having to be careful who you work with. You know, that's the most difficult thing, and it's a really, your circle has to be really small to survive in this game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and another thing is that fighters, it's tough to deal with fighters because when a fighter needs a promoter, when they need help, you know, when nobody knows them, it's so easy to say, you know, oh man, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do this, I'll do that. Well, but once they're in a position and people get to know them, and it's very, very, very hard, very difficult. Loyalty, I would say, is the hardest thing to find in this business. Loyalty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it hard.
Yeah. All right. And then in the beginning of 2024, coming into this year, what were some of the things you wanted to get done this year specifically that you might have not been able to get done last year?
You know what? We're starting to come into more, I would say, bigger and bigger venues. We're starting to have a different game plan as last year. Last year, our game plan was, you know, let's do 50 fights in a year. We did, I don't know, like 40, you know what I mean? Internationally, like we did some fights in Mexico, some fights in Costa Rica, a bunch of fights in the US. And it's just like, let's just be busy. Let's be the busiest promoter out there, you know? And we did that. But this year it's more like, look, let's make maybe a fewer shows. I mean, we're still on, you know, on our way to do maybe, I don't know, 12 shows this year, something like that, or maybe even more. But the thing is, let's do fewer shows, but bigger venues, bigger shows, and that's what we're starting to look into. You know, we're doing this year. We're closing off the year that way, and next year, I see myself doing more and more bigger venues.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about this week. This week on Friday at the Pechanga Casino Resort in Temecula, California, you have a card headlined by Jose Chon Cepeda versus Ivan Redcatch. Talk to us about this fight, because this is definitely a crossroads fight for both of them, and there's a lot at stake here. Maybe even their own careers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big fight for both of them because basically they're both at the end of their career, like you said, and whoever wins will actually have an opportunity to fight, you know, for a bigger paycheck, a bigger fight. It'll put them in a position, especially because, from what I know, this fight is approved. It's approved for a title fight, so that's going to make it even bigger. It's going to be a fight that will push somebody's career into a little bit of more hope to get a bigger fight. And the other fighter is probably going to have to retire and say, you know what, it was a good run. We're going to hang up the gloves. I like the fight because it's two warriors that all they know how to do is go in the ring and bang it out. You know what I mean? They're going to go on there and put on a show without a doubt. And don't get me wrong, you know, it may seem like they're at the end of their career, but I've seen both of these fighters training like it's the most important fight of their life. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be a firefight for sure. You know, but sometimes you know, another part of the business that's really hard to deal with is sometimes, you know, the negativity that people throw at things. You know, there was a certain writer that put a negative post out there and say, oh man, you know, it was like basically bashing the fight, you know? And I was gonna respond because to me, it's a good fight, you know, it's a great fight. Because people are gonna be entertained. That's what they want to see, you know? But they're missing the point. This writer was missing a major point. And the point is that whether he may not like the fight, but he's missing the big picture, which is for me, you know, these guys may have a fight or two left or three. But for me, the bigger picture is there's gonna be prospects that are gonna be on this card that because of their name, they're gonna get to be watched on the zone. You know, someone may say, "Oh, I want to watch the Cepeda fight," but then they're gonna watch these prospects that are up and coming. And when I saw that negative post, man, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to jump on there and respond, but I'm like, you know what? It does no good to do that, man. It just people like that sometimes won't even understand, anyways. But for me, I thank you for this time because it allows me to at least get this point across that, you know what, you're missing the bigger picture. You may say, I don't like that fight because they're both at the end of the career, but you're giving a kid who's up and coming an opportunity to be known, to be watched, maybe because of their names, you know. And for me, that's the vision from the beginning. So it kind of connects to what we're doing. So we're winning regardless.
Yeah, and honestly, look, listen, I've seen, Zepeda and Red Cash fight plenty of times, and for me personally, my interest is what you pointed out. I want to see what those young guns underneath that card has to bring to the table, because from those undercards have been the Javante Davises and the Ryan Garcias and all of these guys. Because I saw Ryan Garcia when he had a handful of fights, and there was like 10 people in the forum, literally. And so, that's and he was on the undercard or whatever of a major fight. But that's the point is that's how you get to see what the breeding ground looks like, right? Like what the farm system looks like, and see, and there could be a diamond in the rough there, and people just don't know. You catch them early and stuff like that. So, I agree with you. I mean, this is where it's at. Tickets are on sale now. There's some still available. I see the price range reasonably priced, $61 to set $171. I saw on Ticketmaster. What can fans expect, and who are some of the fighters on the undercard that you're most excited about?
I would say that we have a stacked undercard with some great prospects that are up and coming. I think that some of the most exciting fights that I'm looking forward to watching is Santos Ortega. Okay, Santos Ortega, he's I think 12-time national champion or something. He has a great resume as an amateur fighter. He stepped away from boxing for a few years. He's coming back, and he wants to prove himself that he could be a world champion. But he's facing a veteran who's fought in many countries, has a good amateur record, experience. So he's bringing a lot of experience to the table. So for me, it's a great fight that I'm looking forward to watch because, here's a upcoming prospect that could be a superstar, but he has to prove himself. He has to get through this challenge of beating somebody who came to the United States with a dream also of fighting, on big arenas and big platforms and changing his family's life. So he's not going to come here and try to lay down. He's going to fight, basically. So for me, that's an exciting fight. Jose San is a fighter who he's a veteran, but he wants to win. He wants to better himself and his family. And we've seen stories like Borroso that was 40 years old, and he fought, and he basically made a name for himself even at 40 years old. So don't underestimate a veteran who's 34, 35 years old coming in and fighting a young prospect. Don't underestimate them because they're hungry as well.
Yeah, I always tell folks joking around, like, you got to be aware of those guys that nobody knows about with the crooked records, because those are the guys that will crack you in the jaw, and then it's over.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, so Friday is going to be on DAZN. If you're local in San Diego, even in the LA area, head down to the Pechanga Arena. They're going to have fights there, headlined by Jose Cepeda versus Ivan Redkach.
The co-main event is going to be great too. The co-main event, Nathan Rodriguez. So Nathan Rodriguez, obviously that's my son, but I'm not talking as a father. I'm talking as a promoter now. I think that he has a great future, man. I think he's definitely in line to be, a world champion. He just turned 20 years old. He went pro at 16. He's 15-0 right now, looking for a 16th victory. And I say that I'm not speaking as a father, but more because I'm not the only one who's seen it. I mean, he's trained with Eddie Reynoso as his trainer. He fought on the Canelo card in Guadalajara last year on the pay-per-view side of the DAZN card. He fought on the Chon Cepeda card in 2022 when Chon Cepeda fought for the world title against Regis Prograis. So he's fought at some big level fights, some big arenas. And it's been a lot of pressure for a kid who was 16, 17, 18 years old fighting at that level. At 18 years old, he was fighting 10 rounds already. When 18-year-olds are fighting 4-rounders, they're going pro.
Yeah.
So I think I've heard a lot of good comments from world-class trainers that said, that kid has something special, and I believe it. His work ethic is amazing. His discipline in the ring, his hunger. So that's another one of the fights that I'm looking forward to seeing. He's a co-main event, and he's going up against a kid who's hungry too. Who wants to fight to change his life, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. Lastly, like, what's the plan for the rest of the year? You have this show coming up on Friday. What can fans expect from you for the rest of the year?
So we have two more big events coming up on the DAZN. Obviously, we've been putting these fights up on the DAZN, and we want to get them exposure. I have Fernando Vargas Jr., who's also signed with MarvNation, Amado Vargas, who are going to finish out the year strong, busy. We just came off a big win with Amado Vargas, with Sean Garcia. That was a great fight, a great experience for him, a great victory. But they got to stay busy. Fernando Vargas Jr. just fought in Texas at baseball stadium. We had an amazing crowd, a good turnout. Wherever they show up, we definitely see that love and support from the fans. So we are closing off the year with them, and if everything goes well, they may be, there could be a possible world title fight that's coming up, a male title fight. And also my female world champion, Irma Garcia, is the Superfly female world champion. She's gonna be fighting for or defending her title probably in November. So we got some big fights and big cards coming up ahead.
All right. Well, listen, Marvin, I appreciate your time. And I look forward to this card on Friday, which I'll be there live to see it, and let's see how it goes down.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you for your time, man. Thank you for having us, and look forward to seeing you there, man.
Thank you.